Did you know that 71% of real estate agents nationwide did not sell a single home last year? If you've ever had a bad experience with a real estate agent, unfortunately, you're not alone. Selling your Flower Mound home is one of the biggest financial decisions that you'll make. But choosing the wrong agent can cost you time, money, and a lot of unnecessary stress. And while there are a lot of great real estate professionals out there, unfortunately, not all agents are the same. And we want to make sure that you avoid the wrong ones. Well, I'm Molly Chance, and this is my husband and business partner, Bret Chance, and we've sold almost $120 million in real estate. So we want to share with you the things that we've learned, sometimes the hard way, the things that we've learned, our experience. We want to share that with you so that you can avoid the wrong agent, the wrong situation that's going to cost you time and money and energy. And so that you can make safe and smart decisions when it comes to selling your Flower Mound house, potentially buying another one in Flower Mound. In this video, you'll learn exactly who not to hire and those red flags to watch for so you can confidently choose the agent that best fits your needs. And by the end, you'll have clarity on what makes a great agent, and you'll feel empowered to be able to make the right decision when selling your Flower Mound home. Now, as a bonus, if you'll wait till the end, we're going to share a few questions that you can ask whenever you interview agents to make sure that that person is the right fit for you. All right, so let's talk about that first agent. Who is it? Who's the agent not to hire to sell your Flower Mound house?
It's what we call the list it and leave it agents.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's so many times I've sat down with clients before they've hired us, and they're like, the last agent we used, I put the sign in the yard, and we never heard from them again, regardless whether it had until they got an offer or they actually, unfortunately, it expired off the market.
Didn't sell.
It didn't sell. So the seller was left there for 6 months or however long the agreement was for, not hearing from, wondering what is going on. And so that's what we call a list it and leave it agent. The big red flag is if they do not have a clear communication plan in place for you. So what that means, how are they going to communicate with you from the time that you go on the market until the time that you close? And so if they don't have one, that's a real big key to walk away with, because I know with our listings or with our clients, we do have that clear communication path, so the way they know what's going on at all times.
Right. We actually call it a communication guarantee because we wanted to put that in there so that people have that piece to know, are you going to do this to me? Are you going to stick around? Am I going to hear from you? So we actually put a guarantee in our listing agreement that says, yes, you will hear from us every single week and like clockwork. And we actually have that as part of our plan. It's usually every Tuesday. He says, you're going to hear from me. It's either email or a phone call or a video or a text in some form. It's usually more than once a week. It depends on after they go into contract, then you better hear from them a lot more than that because there's a lot of things going on, but yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have to put that in there because so many times I've sat with clients, and when I explain the communication guarantee, I can see the stress comes off of them. They're like, oh, okay, we understand what's going on now. So that's a big help.
So what's the next agent you do not want to hire? Who is that?
It's what we call the guesswork agent. And basically what the guesswork agent is, they have not done their due diligence as far as looking at the market, looking at good comparable properties to know how to properly price a house. I can't tell you how many times I've been on the phone with an agent asking them, what comps did you use to pull the numbers? Because what we're seeing on the MLS is not where they're at. And, I'll hear, we based it off the tax office numbers, or, it's just what they wanted, or, some other excuse. And I'm like, that's not what the appraiser is going to use. So the big red flag is if the agent cannot justify their price with good, solid, hardcore data, then that's a huge red flag to walk away with.
Right. So, when we have the buyers and you're saying, when you call that listing agent, you say, hey, I'm looking at the numbers so that my buyer knows how to submit a good solid offer without overpaying. When they come back and they say, it's just what they needed. It's what they wanted. Some kind of random, that's not helpful at all. And It does not help when, especially if our buyer has to get a mortgage loan, that an appraiser is going to be involved. they're going to look at the hard data. They're going to look at the numbers. And if you get to that place where the appraiser for the bank says, we can't find the numbers to support this price, so we're gonna come in with our appraisal down here, then all of a sudden you've got this situation where the seller either has to come down, the buyer has to come up. They've got to come up with that extra money because they can't roll that into the loan. That doesn't cover that. They've got to have that extra cash on top of their down payment. Or, they meet in the middle somewhere and, partially come down, partially come up, or they just walk away and say, can't do it. No, you definitely don't want to hire this third agent either. Who's the third agent?
The third agent is the market ignorant agent. And what we mean by that is the agent that's not staying up to date with what the market is doing in the real estate world, because the market can change within a day. We've seen that so many times, time after time. So if the agent is not in the game, day in and day out, they're not seeing what market changes are happening to be able to help the seller to know, okay, we need to be making this adjustment or that adjustment to be able to get their home sold, to be able to meet their timeline and what they're needing to do to get their goals accomplished.
Right. And unfortunately, sometimes, we see this with part-time agents, or agents that, 71% of agents last year didn't sell a home. You think they know what's going on with the market? Unfortunately, probably not. That is a huge concern. Or, if you're thinking about just hiring, your niece or nephew that just got their real estate license. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. We're all new at one time. But if they don't have a good mentor, someone to help walk them through how the market changing affects you getting your home sold, that could be a problem.
Well, not only that, but also to be able to explain why some properties are selling and some aren't. What are the upgrades that need to be done, or, different tips in ways to be able to help that seller to be able to get that property sold.
Yeah, and what just came to me, I literally saw a local agent who's a very well-known agent, and I would consider her a really good agent. She literally said a few months ago, like, what is going on with this crazy market? And I thought, what? Like, what do you mean what's going on with this crazy market? Yeah, it's kind of crazy, but at the same time, we've been doing this for a while now. We've gone through several recessions, the Great Recession, all that. And so no matter what market you're in, whether it's a crazy market or not, you should know how to guide your clients, your sellers, and your buyers to know how to navigate that. It may take a minute, but you go, okay, well, here's what happens when the market's going down. Here's what happens when the market's going up. Here's how you put your home in the, in the game, in the competition to win. So
really the big red flag is if the agent's not able to do a breakdown of the market to know how to really read the market, then that should be a really big red flag of we'll pass. Now, the next agent for number 4 on our list here is what we call the no plan agent. And really what the no plan agent is, they do not have a very clear, specific marketing plan or pricing plan to be able to get you from not just on the market to successfully to the closing table.
Right. And that's a little scary, to be honest. So that's one reason that we have the Texas Home Life experience. It's a seamless process. We know exactly, and we can talk to our clients about, here are the steps. Here's what happens, from A to Z. And even though there's things that are a little bit different in each transaction, you still have a plan to know how to handle that. Okay, well, if the house doesn't appraise, right, then we know we have several things that we can do there to negotiate that out. What will happen if the house has, a damaged roof, different things that happen, in the selling process. They should kind of know to have a plan of, okay, here's what we do with this and when this happens.
Right, because there are a lot of agents that when the issues do come up, they don't know how to handle them. And unfortunately, we see the house go back on the market because they don't have the tools in the toolbox to know how to work through those issues, or even have a desire to, quite honestly.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't tell you how many times that we've been in with another agent on a deal, and we come up against something, and they just throw their hands up like they don't know what to do with it. And you've had to literally talk them through, okay, here's some things that we can do just to hold the deal together for our client's sake. And a lot of times, our clients, they don't know what's going on behind the scenes. We try to make it so that they don't, but sometimes you have to tell
Absolutely.
them. So that's why sometimes people think, oh, being a real estate agent is so easy. All you have to do is open a door or put a sign in the yard. That is like such a minute part of what we do. We're holding deals together. You have to be a problem solver to get deals closed and to get people, moved on to get their proceeds and move on to their next phase in life. Something else we haven't even touched on here about the plan to sell your house, like a marketing plan, pricing plan, things like that. But a lot of agents I see don't have a plan for what if your house doesn't sell? Like, what if you're not getting showings? What if it doesn't sell in the first 30 days or within whatever time frame it should be selling? Then what do they do? Because a lot of times, that they just kind of throw their hands up like, well, I did what I know to do. Like I posted it on Facebook and I stuck a sign in the yard and I told some people at my office about it. I don't really know what else to do. Like, what is their plan if it's not selling in that time frame that it should?
So the big red flag on this one, if the agent does not have a crystal clear plan of action throughout the whole process, that's another big red flag.
Before we move on to the rest of our list of agents that you do not want to hire, make sure you subscribe to our weekly Flower Mound snapshot market update and featured home. You do not want to miss it. It's a weekly email that goes out that shows you the newest listings in Flower Mound and the price drops. So make sure you sign up and get on that list to get that email every week. Now let's talk about the next agent that you do not want to hire. Who is it?
It's a silent treatment agent.
Ah.
So, really the key to this is whenever they, list the property, you never hear from them again. I know we kind of already talked about that. But here's the thing is we're talking about, the market, knowing the market, what's going on. That communication piece is so critical because we actually had some clients that were referred to us. They were listed with another agent and they never heard from them and they were desperately needing to sell the house. They would have to reach out to the agent and say, hey, we need to lower the price or do something to get some momentum because we've got to get the house sold. Well, the listing expired. We came in and we were able to, give a solid plan with a solid price, and we're able to get them sold to be able to get them moved on because they were in a huge financial bind, needing to move on.
Yeah, that just breaks my heart. And a lot of agents, especially at big teams and all, they think, oh, it'll eventually sell. Like, it doesn't matter if we stick a sign in the yard. At some point, we'll get an offer. It may be, significantly lower because, studies have shown that if longer it sits on the market, the lower your price is. But also with that, I think sometimes people hire an agent that they like. And let me explain this. So sometimes you'll have that agent that is just so bubbly and has such a great personality, and you really like them. They make you feel good. But unfortunately, that agent, when it comes to bad news, they don't really like to give you bad news because they want you to like them. And they don't, when it comes to the hard stuff, the hard conversations, they disappear. It's not that they're necessarily, a bad agent, but then they just don't want to call and give you bad news. So they just won't call you at all. And they don't want to tell you if your price needs to come down or if you need to maybe have some staging done or something different needs to be done. They don't want to have to give you that bad news because they want you to like them. So that's, I think, part of the silent treatment. It's the agents that they don't know what to do or they don't want you to be mad at them. So they just don't do anything. And something else to think about, if you have this silent treatment agent is if they're not calling you, a lot of times these are the same agents that we can't get in touch with when a buyer wants to call to see the house or another agent's calling to get some questions answered about your house. They're not returning their calls, their texts. And that is unfortunately really a big deal in our industry. And we've had people call us from, seeing a house online and they'll say, I just need someone to show me this house and I can't get the agent to call me back. And I've called multiple agents and no one will call me back. I don't understand that at all. Our fiduciary duty is to get our clients' homes sold, their needs before our own. So if they're not talking to you, then they're not talking to the people that want to buy your house either. So that's a real problem.
So the big red flag is if they don't have a clear communication plan of when and where or how they're going to be communicating with you, then that's a big red flag as well. So number 6 is the desperate discount agent. Now, I totally understand people want to save money. I get it. However, we've seen this backfire so many different times. Right now with the market being so tight that there are agents out there that are just, want to take a listing or whatever, and they're willing to discount their fees. However, like I said, as far as on the backfire part is, okay, if they're discounting their fees, where are they discounting their fees at? And here's the thing, that they can't discount their fee to their broker, and they're not going to discount their fee to themselves. So then what we see is the discount comes into the marketing plan to be able to expose the home to those motivated, qualified buyers that are wanting to buy the house. And so, it's really making the days on the market stand out longer, and or not having professional photos of the home. So you're getting the iPhone photos where the presentation of the home looks horrible online. Because the thing is, we have two sets of showings that happen in real estate. First is online, is we're all scrolling through our phones or our computers, and we're like, hey, we like this, we don't. If it's not showing well there, then you're not going to get that second round of showing and the physical showings of people actually coming through. Because studies have shown buyers are looking 18 months online before they even contact an agent to go look at a house. And when they do, generally they're looking at less than 10 homes, and sometimes 5 or less, and they're picking that one because they know what value is. They see what's there. So that marketing piece is so critical that cannot be misplaced in the whole deal.
Right. I totally agree. I mean, we outlay a lot of money up front on our marketing plan because we know how critical it is for that first impression, that first 2 weeks when you're on the market. Like, that is critical because if you're not showing your best online, like I've seen agents put houses on the market with no photo and say, well, photos are coming soon. Please, for the love of God, don't do that, because that's your first impression. And, buyers will just move right past that. They're not going to take the time to go, well, I'll bookmark that and come back to it later. Everybody's busy and they're scrolling through and they're just eliminating that one and going to the next one. And, your house needs to look amazing. So like I said, that, the discount agent, if they're discounting their fees, they're either discounting your market plan or to themselves or somewhere along the way, like Bret was saying. And if they're willing to discount their fees, how hard do you think they're going to fight for your money? I mean, that's a big one. I think that a lot of people don't realize if they can't fight and negotiate for their own livelihood, the money that they choose to, keep their family up with, to pay their bills and, live life, how hard do you think they're going to fight when it comes to negotiating the price on your house? They're probably just going to roll over and say, yeah, okay, well, this is a good deal, even though they know it's not, but they just want to get the household because they need that paycheck.
Well, yeah, because at the end of the day, if they're not valuing themselves, how are they going to value you as a client? That's the whole nuts and the bolts of the deal.
Right. And that's really the red flag. If they're willing to undervalue their own services, how hard do you think they're going to fight for you? Okay, so these are the agents that you do not want to hire. Let's turn our attention to these questions that you need to ask so that you make sure that you are hiring the right agent to sell your Flower Mound home. Now, the first question is, how long have you been in real estate? What is your track record?
Well, that's huge because somebody with experience, as we all know, knows how to navigate things. But really, it comes down to what is a track record? What is their list price to close price ratio? For example, is it, 95% or is it 99%? What is that? Because that really affects your bottom dollar at the end of the day.
And what he's saying is, whatever list price you put on the home, what the sales price that they wind up getting, how close is that? So, and even if, okay, an experienced agent, we've seen newer agents that come on board that maybe came from corporate world or something like that. They've still got some life experience, and they know how to navigate things. So it's not to say, because we've even dealt with agents that have said, well, I've been in this industry for 30 years and I know how to do this, and they don't have a clue. And so unfortunately, so again, you have to kind of weigh this out too. It doesn't mean that they have, 30 years of experience, but there needs to be some type of experience.
Yeah. And also one other key indicator or number to look at is what's their average days on the market compared to the rest of the market. So, and that's a huge thing. So if their average days on the market is higher, than on their listings than what the average is for the area, there's a red flag in there as well.
Yeah. Well, and you just answered the next question was, how long do your listings, stay on the market? How do they compare to the average? So that's definitely a question to ask. Now, we kind of hit on this next one a little bit previously. How do you determine list price on my home? That's going to tell you a lot. Like, how are they coming up with this number?
Right, exactly. And it's having good, solid data of, what is trending in the market, what's actually on the market that the seller is going to be competing with. How do you win on that market? What is under contract? And then also what has sold in the last, say, 90 days, because we know 100% of the seller's needs have been met during that time frame. And also looking at the condition of those properties of what did it take for that buyer to say, yes, I really want that house to be able to get it sold.
Right. I just heard a story recently of an agent that the house in her neighborhood went up for sale, and they chose an agent that was outside of their market. And she walks in. She had sold the house next door previously, so she was very familiar with the market, having sold homes in there, living in there. She goes to the open house and she's talking to the agent, and she says, "I'm just curious, like, how did you price this home? Because it was like $150,000 over where it should have been." And she said, "Well, based on that house down the street that just sold for $2 million." And she said, "That brand new construction home?" "Well, yeah, because if they'll pay $2 million for that, then they'll pay 1.5 for this home." Well, this home was an older home, had not been updated, is quite a bit older. And this agent didn't understand that she thought there was logic behind what she was saying, but there was not, because the house next door had sold for like 1.1 million, and it was completely updated and had a basement and all these things. And so it just goes to show you have to have like legit market data and be able to actually understand that market data.
Exactly.
Now, the next question that we hit on earlier is, what is your marketing plan to attract the right buyers?
Right, because the agent needs to be able to really explain that clearly and have a clear, defined plan to be able to do that. Also, not just to do that, but also know who is that qualified, motivated buyer for that house to be able to really, have a specific plan in action to market to that buyer pool to be able to get that house sold.
Right. I mean, you talk about, in your presentation to the people that hire us to sell their homes in Flower Mound, as part of the marketing plan, we don't just put a sign in the yard and pray that it sells. We actually have a marketing plan that works.
Yeah, because the joke is, or what I said in the presentation is, there's the three pieces of real estate. They're gonna most agents will put a sign in the yard, put in the MLS, and pray someone actually will sell it. Which, okay, that's part of it a little bit, but the other part is also somebody that's going to be proactively looking for the buyer for your house, and also price watch the market to know what changes need to be made, because the market's dynamic is changing.
Now, this is another one that we talked about earlier. How will you keep me updated throughout the process?
Yeah, and there's got to be a clear expectation with that, because, just for example, what we do is I'm calling Tuesday afternoon, either it's a phone call or email or a text or a video message, just letting you know what's going on. Even if, there may not be that much to talk about, we're still going to have either a conversation or you're going to be let know what's going on. Because the thing is, you've hired us as professionals to keep you up to date with one of your largest financial investments, and you deserve that treatment.
Agreed. Well, this goes into something else. Can I fire you if you're not doing what you said you were going to do? How many times have we gotten calls from people saying, my house is still sitting here. It's not selling. I'm so frustrated. How do I get rid of this agent that said they were going to do X, Y, and Z, and I can't even get them on the phone now?
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't tell you how many times I've had that conversation. Because here's the thing, if we're not doing what we say that we're going to do, then you should have the ability to be able to get out of that agreement, because, it's a breach of contract, quite honestly. And so there should be some sort of a tool in there for that to happen.
Right. Actually, we call it the easy exit listing agreement, where, if either party is not happy with the services, because sometimes it can go both ways. I mean, 99.9% of our clients are amazing, but occasionally there's that person that we are just not a good fit and didn't catch it in the beginning. And, sometimes we've had to fire clients when we just were not a good fit at all. And so it does go both ways, but you should be able to, if you're, I would definitely say, and at first, reach out to your agent, talk to them, communicate. That's the biggest situation. If you're not happy with what they're doing or what they're not doing, let them know. I know sometimes that's a hard conversation to have, especially when you like them, they're a friend, whatever. Nobody likes confrontation, but I would say, please just reach out to them by email, preferably by phone, so you can have a conversation and things don't get misinterpreted. Just to say, hey, we thought you were going to do X, Y, and Z. How come this isn't working? Sometimes it's just miscommunication where people think, well, you're not having enough open houses on my house to sell it. When, to be honest, the majority of the time, open houses don't sell houses. It's such a small percentage. Yes, they work. They're part of the plan, but it's not the be all end all. And so I think just communicating and saying, hey, do we need, more advertising? Do we need this or do we need that? Just communicate. And it would really, this wouldn't even be needed. But having that conversation up front, like, can I fire you if you're not doing your job? I think you need to talk about that. You need to ask that question.
I agree, because it's like anything in life. I mean, majority of the conflict happens when there's a lack of communication or misunderstanding. It's just having that clear channel is the biggest thing. So one of the questions to ask is, if you're interviewing a big team, is what is your listing to close ratio? Meaning, how many homes are you putting on the market to sell, and how many are actually selling? Because a lot of times, you've got big teams or big groups that take a ton of listings. However, they know it's a numbers game because they're not putting their heart and their soul into getting that home sold. So they just have this ratio. They're like, okay, well, we know for just totally throwing this out, we know 80% of them will sell. So we just know we got to just keep on going. And, they're not too concerned about the other 20%.
Unfortunately, yeah, not all are that way.
Not all, no.
It is kind of a numbers game, especially when you have a bigger team or a bigger group like that. It's just numbers, and unfortunately. So the right real estate agent can be the biggest asset you have when it comes to selling your Flower Mound home. They need to be experienced, transparent, and have a solid plan to get you top dollar for your home.
And here's the thing: if you don't trust them to tell you the truth, even when the truth is tough to hear, then it is time to move on.
If you're thinking about selling your Flower Mound home, we'd love to have a strategy call with you to find out if we're a good fit and take you through our seamless process, the Texas Home Life experience of how we get Flower Mound homeowners top dollar in the least amount of time.